Hello and welcome to The Big Fight. Now, for quite some time, a fight has been raging about a new divorce bill that is being considered. And what exactly should there be in it and what shouldn't there be? Now, it's been a subject of discussion for a while. Some clauses in particular are proving really contentious. So let's use this occasion to look at what we think a new bill should have. What are the problems and the key issues around divorce in India? And what are the best measures and the best way forward to fix those specific issues? It's great to have joining us on the program Karuna Nandi, who's an advocate in the Supreme Court, but also an attorney in American court in New York. So as a result, you can perhaps shed light on what happens in other countries as well. Indu Agnihotri, chairperson of the Center for Women Development Studies. Judy Balance, author of Two Fates, The Story of My Divorce, and also Sophie, another one which has just come out right now. All the best, and we're waiting to see how that particular book also does. Swaroop Sarkar is the founder of the Save Family Foundation, who's been really exercised about some of the laws, not just the divorce bill, but other laws that are around here. Joining us from Mumbai, Alec Padamsee, who's a communications specialist in theatre and advertising. Alec, a pleasure as always to have you with us. Suchitra Krishnamurthy, actor, singer, great Suchitra that you could be with us as well. And Rinki Bhattacharya, writer, columnist, filmmaker. Thank you all so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Now, Karuna, why don't I start off with you? There is a bill that is being under discussion. So the effort is to change what divorce law should be. Some of the clauses around this bill have created a lot of a stir, especially some provisions which are, for example, saying that if there's a divorce, then potentially or theoretically it's possible that the wife can get a large share or 50% share, not just of what happened during the marriage, but the ancestral property as well of the man. Now, there are various drafts, various versions going around, but things like this have led to a lot of discord.
The latest draft that I've seen seems to indicate that the judge can include properties that are not just acquired during the course of the marriage, but also inherited properties. It just gives the judge an additional discretion. So it's really quite vague, right? At the same time, I think what they're trying to address in this change in law is also very important, which is, I think it's said that the Aam Aadmi in India is actually a woman. And this, I think, is true. Poverty is overwhelmingly female. Only 9% of...
Is that really the case?
Yes. Absolutely.
Why would you say that necessarily? I know that
on
certain parameters,
yes,
like malnutrition and all that,
yes,
there's a massive gender bias. But to say
yes,
poverty itself is gender specific.
Well, give me any indicator for poverty.
The amount of household wealth you have is one possibility. The amount you're eating. Okay, nourishment, I get what you're saying. Health, I get perhaps what you're saying.
Income.
Okay.
Income in proportion to work. Decision over income. Healthcare. You take any parameter and you will find that women do much worse, quite apart from the fact...
Worse, but it's not to say that men don't necessarily do badly. So there's one thing to say that women could be
of course
worse than men are, but to say that poverty itself is gender specific, maybe pushing it.
Poverty of women is much greater than poverty of men, even though there is extreme poverty of both genders, and that needs to be, there's no doubt about that.
We're getting digressing into a separate big fight. Let's come back to divorce.
Divorce plunges women into the kind of poverty that they do not face when they're married.
Alec, if I can just turn to you, does divorce largely affect the woman more?
Obviously, if the man is the earner in the family and the wife is not. My first wife, Pearl, was not an earner. She used to do a little bit of teaching of drama in schools. So obviously, when we separated, I, gave her alimony, and she was and I gave her the flat. That was our joint flat, but I said, no, you have it, and I'll find some other accommodation. With Dolly, it was different. She had a flat, and we parted on sort of different terms, but I've tried to support her as best as possible over the years. And, when you get divorced, you don't have to be an enemy. That is what I'm saying. It's a very bad attitude in India, and I think it's up to the husbands to reach out a helping hand to the ex-wife. And even Sharon today and I are the best of friends. We live in separate houses. And of course, my children, one by Pearl, one by Dolly, and one by Sharon, all live with their mothers. And I said, yes, that's the way. I have visiting rights, but I don't need that because they drop in anytime they like. I drop in. It's the new kind of joint family where we have three mothers of my children. And this is the way it should go. Divorce has not got to be a kind of lacerating, horrible kind of thing. And for that, I'd just like to say, Vikram, while I've got a chance, I am working on a book in which the principal thing is we should not have the marriages in the way they are, which is still death do us part, but marriage license, like a driving license, which expires after 5 years if both the parties decide that they don't want to continue, or even one of them. This way, it gives you a chance to reassess your marriage in the 4th year, decide whether you want to go on with it or let it lapse.
Okay, fine.
And you sign a prenuptial in the beginning so that it decides who gets the children, who gets what kind of division of the money and the properties. And that's all sorted out before you get married.
Fine. Rinki Bhattacharya, let me turn to you because you didn't have the sort of an experience that Alec is talking about. It was a bitter experience, and in some ways it replicated what Karuna was talking about.
My own experience, yes, it was. But let me go beyond my experience. I mean, divorce turns most men very bitter. Much more than the woman. And I would say, women delay and resist divorce because two very important reasons. One is the children, custody of children. They fear losing them, and of course primarily money. Women are worst hit by poverty, and post-divorce trauma includes that state of poverty. They are driven below the poverty line. How many women have control over their own income, or if they are deprived of their husband's income? They have absolutely, they continue to be in a very, very bad and traumatic, dangerous relationship. And this is the reality.
And that in that you are talking from personal experience, because that's pretty much what you went through.
Yes, of course, not just personally, from my own experience. I've dealt with women, I've run a hotline for women. This is the story.
Pretty much what you went through.
Yes, well, it's not just Indian. Everywhere you turn, women are terrified of, leaving, they're losing the children and losing this, and also the stigma of single women. Don't forget that. It's terrible. You can't, they lose a house in Calcutta, in cities like Calcutta, a single woman is not given a house on rent. She has to produce some man from somewhere to sign the document. Even get, this is the situation. So what are we talking about? It's,
Let me turn to Judy, who I think has a slightly different take on this.
My biggest concern with it is that while it seems to be empowering women on the surface, I think it's doing the opposite of that by just, putting the power back into the man's hands and saying, you know what, it's just sending her this message that you can't do without him. You need him to. My biggest And I'm saying this as someone who has been through a divorce, who has been through a bitter one, and emotional abuse, physical abuse, and I'm just saying that there's no way you can really make it to the other side unless you take that adversity head on. That is real empowerment, and unless, and this bill is sort of making it easy for them, because if I had the whole...
You refuse to take
And I
alimony,
refuse
right?
to take alimony, and on principle, because, thank you. But, you know, see, that's the thing, and I have a child, so I just had to look at it this way. It's about choices, and in this country, I just find that people don't take responsibility for their choices. And this thing about 74% women are, you know, don't have job skill, that's what I was told, that they don't have job skill choices. And this thing about 74% women are, you know, what are they supposed to do at the end of an abusive marriage when they're just left on the lurch? And my take on that is that, I know I might sound harsh, but I'm speaking purely from personal experience. I just think that if you have 2 hands and 2 feet and a mind that works, you don't have an excuse for not fending for yourself. Personal experience. Unless we take responsibility for our choices. See, the way I saw it, when I refused alimony, I had like $1,000 in the bank. I didn't really have my finances figured out. I wasn't leaning on my parents for financial support. But the way I saw it, I brought this child into the world. That was my choice. Yes, the plan was to deal with this with another person, but that didn't happen. It didn't work out according to my plan, but the choice was still mine, and now it's my choice to take care of her, and I believe that, you know, I can raise her on my income, but the choice was still mine and that. And I think that's what I want for other people, you know, because that's real empowerment is what I think.
All right, Suchitra, let me just come across to you. So we've heard a range of voices. What do you think should be done?
Okay, I think first of all, this is not, you know, divorce is not just man and woman. And while I admire somebody who says, like Judy, who says that, you know, if you have 2 hands and 2 feet, you can go out and fend for yourself. I think it is totally, you know, pushing aside the price of care, the price of love that women invest. In a relationship, it is everybody is not, you know, there are people who choose to stay back and you know, look after children, look less in a relationship. And what price do you put on that? And every man is not like Alec, who can, you know, put a value to it, who values it, who cherishes it, who nourishes, you know, cherishes these women and provides for his children. Men can be very, very exploitative, just as the women be. And I think if there is a law that is looking after the women. I have so many girlfriends who are not getting out of very, very relationships, very simply because of the current law that exists, that they are not, and they are entitled to use earnings or property only from the time of the marriage. So what these men do is they fudge figures, you know, half the earnings are not in white, they fudge figures, they sell off property without the woman's knowledge. It is a very situation, and I think if a law can come in where it is, it becomes more equal for the woman and more, you know, empowers her to look after herself and her children. Okay. Without having to go to war and without being on the street, then it's good. Only thing, it can be exploited from both ends, so, you know, discretion is needed.
So you need a balance. Another thing is what we're trying to discuss in this show as to where the balance should come, because obviously either extreme is bad. Karuna, you wanted to clarify something.
Judy's experience is highly commendable. I think that experience is a little different, I will say, because a lot of women experience not just domestic violence, but a lot of women get into the family so that the man can, say, build the business or do the work, etc. So they've contributed to the acquisition of property, to the building of the household resources. Right. Like, you will have women like Judy, you will have men like Alec, and you will have many other different kinds of women and men. And so you have to take into account,
will have to be applied.
So a certain amount of discretion has to be applied. So for instance, you take into account the age and the health of the the spouses, you take into account the earning capacity, you
And
take into account how much, and you also take into account the direct tax.
And also whether the wife can easily get a job, can find employment, all of those factors.
Whether the wife can easily get a job, can find employment. However, I will say that, you know, when we're looking at a law and giving a lot of discretion to judges here, we have to keep in mind that the majority of our judges are middle class men.
You were about to say patriarchal and you stopped yourself just in time.
Well, you know, I think there are women who are patriarchal. Look, a lot of women are patriarchal, a lot of men are feminist, right? Let's not use the word feminist because some men don't like it, but for equal gender rights, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of think that you have to
now,
specify
equal gender rights
things.
will go both ways, which I'm about to throw off the thing to. Equal gender rights, there are some men, and I'm sure, you know.
But it doesn't come out in an equal settlement. Equal gender rights doesn't come out in equal settlement.
So before I come to you and before I come back to Suchitra and the others, equal gender rights is what she said. Now, I know, Sarup, you feel that increasingly the laws are not equal, and your view is that men are being discriminated against already under laws like 498A, but also with this.
Today in a divorce case, 498A, DB, CRPC under 25, Section 25, child custody, 6 to 7 cases coming, and the fight is go long. In long. When this draft was put in the Parliament Committee, we have seen all over the world the laws we put in front of them. We are very much shocked to see here. They say divide the property money in front of the husband. They don't talk about the wife. They are so adamant. They say wife does not have anything. We say okay, fair enough. Wife is having 0. Husband is having 100, make it 50-50. But why you are excluding? I am giving an example to understand common public. Two husband. Husband A 60 lakhs is having, husband B 60 lakhs is having. If this law passed, if husband A 60 lakhs put his own name, maybe he will give 30 lakhs. Husband B, in 60 lakhs, he buy a property in the name of wife 30 lakhs, by own name 30 lakhs. This law says, wife 30 lakhs with wife, husband 30 lakhs 15, so wife get 45, husband get 50. This law says, husband who is honest.
That's not what the law says.
That's one interpretation.
How you incorrect. So you see, how can solve? If you put replace the word husband and wife to the spouse, that is the first one.
So make it.
Second one, duration of marriage. A 30 lakhs home, they are saying contribution. We say, fair enough, whatever you contributed, you deserve to be get it. But what is their contribution? What a person earned before his marriage? His father's fathers?
Okay.
And the most problem, the biggest problem we have told, see, Hindu Succession Act 2005 says, girls have equal rights in their parental property. Now, the parents is not giving their property, the crime they are doing, the punishment you are giving to the husband. Why? First give the girl equal right on their parental property. That is the law of this land.
Okay, fine. We've got your point. Indu, can I just come to you on some of those? Those issues, because this really is where a lot of the debate will be around. I think the basic premises of, we've got your point. Obviously, if a woman must have her fair share out of the marriage, I guess the question will always come down to what the fair share is. And some of the examples that he referred to, if you actually had a situation where somebody gets married and they're married for 20 days and then the marriage dissolves, and some of the examples that he, okay, now your ancestral property I should get X share of or 50% of, as was there in some versions of the bill and will come up in some versions of the bill, then some of the unfairness that he's talking about may well come out.
Women are in the most vulnerable, most unequal position in our society, looking at any indicator. Looking at social norms also, if you look at it in marriage position in our society, looking at marriage, post-marriage, women and all women are in an unequal position.
Okay. Well, can I just interrupt you though? Can I just interrupt you though?
Yeah.
I also think though, while that may generically be the case, I also think we have to be careful of generalization, because laws are never meant for the average.
In fact, the generalization that you are seeing here, let me speak.
Be careful of generalization, because
generalization that you saw just now about 50, 50, 20, whatever formula was being. That is a general. How many women in India acquire property in this manner? How many women acquire property from their homes? How many women in India look, I'm sorry I didn't interrupt you when you were speaking, and I'd like to have my say. Can we just you posit only marriage as the role for the woman, and then you throw her out at midnight? What are we talking about? With her, etc. First you accept the principle of, no, you can boo, you can do anything, but the reality of women is the reality of women is that they are dumped in Vrindavan, they are dumped in Kashi, they are ousted as giants.
Can the audience just calm down, please?
Do you accept, and will we accept all that Alec said? We all want amicable solutions, and the laws are meant for amicable solutions.
Okay. Can I just interrupt you?
No, I want to have this point made, which is that all women and in all marriages, will you first accept the principle of equality in terms of joint matrimonial property?
Fine.
No,
hang on.
We do not have any law which accepts joint matrimonial, the right to joint matrimony with nothing with her, etc. We have a law on joint matrimonial property? We do not have.
Let's
Can
get
I
that law in. I'm trying to arrive at what is the fair answer.
Fair answer is not in money terms. The principle of the right of the woman to equal rights in matrimony.
Nobody is disputing. Okay, so I think nobody here is right now disputing that right now. We're all in agreement with you.
That's not been accepted in Parliament.
I'm not
so far.
We are trying to see what we are accepting on the big fight for the moment. Let me worry about what Parliament is accepting.
You have to go by the law as it exists.
I can't say anything unless I get Parliament to accept what happens. I never have a successful big fight.
No,
we are just trying
to. You can't have a debate on false grounds. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
What are the false grounds? We are right now.
But to be fair, if I just may come in on this, I think what we all agree on is that property acquired during the marriage should be split.
So we're all agreeing.
I think what we all agree.
I can't. Indu, just to make this thing clear, I can't promise what Parliament will do, but we are here trying to see what we all think is a relatively fair. And we may agree to disagree. So hang on, I'm just asking you a question now. as to what he said, I think most of us around here, we all think is a relatively fair. Obviously, women should be treated in a completely equal manner. There's no doubt about that. You have agreed that yes, you're completely right. But if the woman is functioning as the homemaker in a particular house and the husband is out building a business, he can't say, oh, I also think you're completely right and I was out building the business. No, I think there has to be a division of what they as a unit have put together. What I was questioning is, what if you have a situation where, let's say, I don't know, Ratan, Mukesh Ambani, somebody put together. What I was questioning is, what if the son has just got married, 15 days later, that marriage dissolves. Some real big industrialist is allowed, entitled to 50% of your ancestral wealth. Is that fair? Maybe not. That's the only point I'm making. And
As the women's movement is concerned, the women's movement has been pushing for equality and not for some false grounds of, as far as Save the Family Foundation might say, of extortion by women in marriage. That's not the
You cannot attack Madam like an organization.
That's not
Your organization take fund from the outside.
As I said, patriarchy is with women and men.
Please tell us,
What is that,
Save
ma'am?
Family Foundation is a
Okay, hang on,
non-funded
hang on.
organization.
Cannot-
Your organization take organization funds, you take
cannot
fund
say-
from the UN
you cannot-
and then you can destroy the Indian
say
family.
anything.
It's totally honest.
You
Can
cannot-
we not?
You are only giving one-sided view, highly
at
objected.
all.
Talk about the law.
I'm
Why
talking
China
about the
law?
law.
Can I get the audience
I am
later? Okay,
saying-
ma'am, I'll give you a chance later. I'll give you a chance later.
I am saying we first need a law on joint matrimony.
Get the audience
I am
later. Okay.
saying-
Definition of marriage gives the indications. What is your motive and how much effort you have put on this matter.
matrimony.
Fine, we've
So
got
this has been
I agree
objected
with
by
you there.
their organizations.
True.
Save Family
But
Foundation
the
always say
marriage
He is
gender
not
neutral.
objecting to
They
that.
say it is
No,
gender
no.
bias.
Aruna, are you objecting to
But
this?
she is not objecting to it. I am not
No,
objecting
They
to
have
it.
objected in the Parliament Committee. It is on the
You
record.
have no idea.
Show
what
us
Can
the
we
record.
Gender bias.
Aruna, are you objecting to this?
File RTI. I am having everything. File RTI Parliament
Sorry.
Committee record.
Sorry.
Can we-
They
What-
say.
what-
Can we or not?
Yes,
Sure.
divorce should not be there.
Look,
we are
divorce is about
pointing
bitter
to-
relationships. Can we in this big fight at least divorce ourselves from
what
this
we
particular
are
argument?
pointing-
Suchitra, you wanted to come in.
I think the law should be fair, and like, you know, it's not always possible to put a price on care and everything. And I don't think...
Wanted to come in.
I think the law should be fair and like be a case for extortion. That's where discretion of the judge and the law has to come in. It has to be done in such a way. I think women, you know, exist is that they don't have a share in the ancestral property. But like I said, a lot of men fudge their current earnings and try to fudge their current financial status to escape providing for the woman and the child, which is where this whole problem comes in. And so the woman is left stranded. You know, I know a few cases like that, friends of mine. So the law has to, you know, the woman is left stranded, you know. Maybe not ancestral property, you know, the example you gave of Mukesh Ambani was a good one, because it can be, situations like this can be very exploitative. So the law has to come in where her standard is made, because it can be that she is enjoyed during the marriage and that
Okay.
the husband will continue to enjoy.
That's fair enough. I think that's a
that already
fair and a very
exists.
reasonable
Yeah,
position.